All right, moving along with our Chevelle LS Turbo swap, and what we're going to do in this video is remove the heads from the engine, disassemble all the valves, and see where the leakage is going. So if you remember, we did a leak down test, and we had anywhere from 20 to 75% leakage, and it was mostly in the exhaust valves. So it'll be interesting to see what we find when we pull all these valves out. Okay, we're going to remove all the rockers, or this whole assembly just comes right off. 8mm bolts right here in the center. You might have to crack these loose with a ratchet, and I did that. Loosen these up and retighten them because I was messing around with Marvel Mystery Oil to help improve the leak down results, and nothing happened. So I loosened these all up so they were loose and all the valves were closed, and I filled up the exhaust and intake ports with Marvel Mystery Oil, including through the spark plug hole, and let it sit for a day or two. Repeated my leak down test results, and they were still crappy. So not carbon, guys. Something else is going on with the leakage issue. So let's just start tearing this apart. Okay, just lift these all up as one assembly and go lay it down. Make sure you label it as the driver's side. Okay, next up, just remove all the push rods. These all look like they're in good shape, the ends. Okay, I'm going to loosen all the head bolts by hand. So these are 10 mil. Let's just go ahead and bust them loose. Got to take off the steam port thing here. Okay, next up, all the 15 mil bolts here. I'm just going to bust it loose with a 1/2-inch ratchet. Let's loosen the coolant temp sensor just since we have leverage on it right now. Whoa. Okay, so all this in here is the Marvel Mystery Oil that I've been messing around with. Head gasket. All right, same thing on the passenger side. Okay, take the push rods out. All right, I got the head, or this thing, horizontal now because I don't want to get Marvel Mystery Oil all over my nice shoes here. Okay, so here are the heads. What I've done is I wrote on here per our leak down test results. So this guy, this cylinder here was 25% leakage, 35% leakage, 75% leakage. This is the worst cylinder. Okay, so we'll take this one apart first and see how the valves looks and see what's going on, and then 25% on this guy. So this is the driver's side. Looking in here, none of the valves look bent. Obviously a lot of carbon and whatnot. This is all normal stuff, right? Let's go ahead and flip this down, and then we'll be using, there's two ways to remove the valves. Usually when the heads are off of the engine, you'll use a C-clamp style like this. This one is for motorcycles. It's meant for much smaller cylinder heads. This thing barely fits, okay? So this thing would work. That's from Tusk. And then this is a really popular one. I'll show you how to use this. And this is typically used when the heads are still on the car, or the heads are on the engine, or even if it's in the car, okay? Basically, you air up the cylinder through the spark plug hole with your compression hose. Remove the Schrader valve. You jam 100 psi in there, and it keeps the valves up. You're going to want to bring the piston up just in case the valves drop, right? And then you work from the top side. So we'll demonstrate that on the worst case cylinder here. All right, so I bought this kit off Amazon, and I will put a link in the video description. All right, so basically how this works is you attach this guy to the pedestal. Okay, make sure there's a little bit of oil on your bolts here. Okay, and I'm just gonna run them in snug. Okay, they don't have to be tight. Make sure this guy's centered. Okay, that's it, just snug. Okay, next up, this guy drops down, and what it does is as you tighten this down, it pushes down on the springs, compresses them. Okay, put a little oil on your threads just to, you know, prolong the life of this guy. Grease works too. Okay, run this guy down. Okay, now the valves are moving down, and what I did is I balled up a rag under here, but basically might have to give them a pop. All right, I just give it a little tap with the hammer, and you can see these keepers are popping out. So take a pen magnet. Looks like I got to go a little lower here, or the valve's not. Alright, so we got our keepers out. Now time to loosen this guy. Okay, that's loose. Take that whole assembly off. Alright, remove our springs. Okay, and then just the valves come right out. Really nervous what to see here. Okay, so here's the intake valve. This seat and this valve face look good, no pitting whatsoever. So we'll determine whether that's within spec or not. But anyway, let's put this aside. The questionable thing is the exhaust valve, and you can see that there's a little bit of I guess pitting, or there's just buildup on it. They're just dirty. Okay, same with the seat. Doesn't look terrible. Also, if I put this valve in and just kind of rock this guy every which way, the valve is pretty tight in the guide. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. All right, let's give it a quick valve lap and see just how bad these valves are. Okay, so I'm using valve grinding compound. Okay, drop that valve back in there. Okay, I got a bunch of these suction cups. That one, yeah, I guess that one looks good. And then you gotta lick it, all right? And stick it on there. So you can hear the grinding, and then that noise kind of tends to fade away as the braces break down. So what you do is lift the valve and kind of rotate it, and that kind of gets new compound redistributed. The suction cup isn't sticking to this carboned up valve. Okay, let's just see what that did. All right, so here's a closer look. Obviously, all those dark spots have not even contacted the face. So that is all pitting. And then the question is, I mean, really it needs a valve job. Probably maybe even new valves and, you know, a valve job. But, you know, I'll work on it a little more and basically see what we get. I mean, this is kind of a budget build. I don't want to spend too much money on a 5.3, so we'll have to determine what to do. And you know, this is the worst leaking valve, so all the others should look a lot better, but that looks that doesn't look too good, right? Okay, what I did is I put a little more compound on, put the valve in, put a piece of duct tape in here, and I'm gonna run this thing with my drill, okay, and just see if I can clean it up a little more. And I put a little oil on the valve stem since we are going to be rotating this a little faster. Okay, so after one round of the drill, it actually looks a lot better. So I'm wondering, you know, I'll probably keep going just to see what happens. I mean, doesn't hurt, right? I mean, if this is junk, it's junk, but man, you know, maybe I can get this a lot better to where it's, you know, good enough. Alright guys, I spent about 5 minutes, did that a couple more times with the drill, cleaned this off with brake clean, and you can see that there are 0 pits, both on the valve seat and the valve face, and this sucker is now going to seal just great. So I think that's the avenue I'm going to take. I'm just going to wire wheel all the valves, blast the heads, vapor blast everything, and then just lap them and go with it. I think this will be just fine for this build. And and we'll just go from there. It's kind of a budget build, guys. Okay, guys, what I've done is, obviously you saw me lap the exhaust valve. I also quickly lapped the intake valve, just real quick because it wasn't too bad. I reinstalled the valves, reinstalled the valve springs, reinstalled the spark plug, and now what I'm going to do is just fill this chamber with some Marvel mystery oil because I don't have any gas or alcohol or anything laying around. So let's just fill this guy up and see if it leaks. Alright, so that's full. We'll check back in a few and see how it's doing. Okay guys, it's been a few hours because I had to go do some stuff, but you can see that maybe just a little bit leaked out of here. Okay, now if I put my finger in the exhaust port, I mean, there is nothing. Okay, it is bone dry. The intake is actually leaking just a little bit, and that's because I lapped it for like 2 seconds. Okay, but given what we were starting with, which had 70%, 75%, or 70, whatever, leakage, and now it's looking pretty good. So that's awesome. Okay, take some pliers and you can pull off these valve stem seals. Okay, just go ahead and yank those off. We'll be replacing those. A lot of oil underneath them. All right, guys, so it literally took less than 10 minutes to disassemble these heads, to pull all the valve springs and the valves out with this tool here. So yeah, definitely money well spent. It was like $30. I'll put a link below in the video description. Now looking at all these, it's just a little bit of dirt, a little bit of pitting. So I feel like maybe just with a good lap that these heads will be usable. If not, well then I'll take it in for a valve job. But let me just try to work with this a little bit to help save money with the overall project, because man, looking at the list of things I need, and not to mention some tools, man, this project can drag on forever if, you know, the expense keeps racking up. So anyway, what I'm going to be busy doing in the next video is taking a wire wheel and cleaning all the valves, okay, getting those spotless, and then cleaning up the heads and vapor blasting them. That way with the clean part, you can really get in there and inspect it much better. Right now there's carbon falling all over the place, so who knows what's going on. So obviously blasting it so you have something clean to work with is ideal. So that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think.